Welcome and good evening, everybody. Our temperatures, which are rising over the globe, did have also a little influence on our trailer, such as feeling warm, he took himself just a little break in between. But we have a fantastic opportunity this evening or this morning if you are in the United States or somewhere else in the globe which has a comparable time zone. Our guest is Harald Henn, a very knowledgeable expert I'm very proud of to have as a friendly colleague, a friend, and a supporter of a lot of activities for the market and in united and related congresses, presentations, and a lot of sharing of knowledge. Harald, welcome to our show. And I'm very happy, just make a quick one. Thomas is in the area of Seattle. Marshall is out of the area from Chicago. And you are more or less in the fantastic, most thrilling valley for the most famous wine in Germany, or one of the most famous wines. Please introduce yourself a bit.
At least for the wine, we are very famous. Yes, welcome and thanks for the invitation. And greetings around the globe. As Ralph said, I'm for more or less 3 decades in the area of consulting. Everything which has to do with the interface between a customer and a company. So whether you call that call center or customer service or today customer experience, it has to do with customers and it has to do with the way they are treated and the way companies should treat them, and to make it a profitable and hopefully enjoyable connection between the two. So that's what I'm doing. And since I did not learn anything seriously, that's the only thing which I'm good at. And before I switched, how would you say in Star Wars, before I switched to the dark side, I was with some US companies. One of them is Dell Computer, which I had the pleasure to found it at least in Germany for the German part. And so my roots are in the area of direct connections to a customer, since Dell is selling directly to the customer. And that was kind of like a virus that I got infected with. And the virus of talking directly to customers and get immediate feedback. And the virus is still valid today and very vivid. And so I'm still in that business.
I didn't actually know about your connection to Dell. That's very interesting. It shows that you've been interested in this topic for a very long time. Dell was very well known in its day for its customer experience. So
the word did not exist at that time, customer experience. The word call center did not exist. The only word that was in existence was customer service. And Michael, he was 23 at the time when we launched in Germany. At that time, was very inspirational guy, and although the words did not exist, that was what he was always thinking about, preaching about, and trying to build the company around the customer, with the customer in mind, and without having the word customer experience. So what proves is you can be customer centric without even knowing the word customer centric and customer experience.
And he succeeded in creating something very exceptional. A friend of mine who is was accompanying me in update marketing and later in Team Brendel.
Right now the screen is frozen, Ralph.
Oh
no. Your machine is abandoning you. We see you. We see
The
you all
screen is
fine.
frozen. I
Are you suffering from German internet?
Probably.
Yeah.
We see you all fine. You all fine. Rob.
Yeah, but the screen, Ralph is frozen on his screen, Thomas is frozen, Marshall is frozen, and the voice is interrupted.
Suggestion is log out and log in.
And probably remove the virtual background.
Yeah, we'll be here when you get back.
Yeah.
Promise. I can't tell if he's frozen or just very still.
Yeah, now it's frozen, I guess. Now it's frozen.
Yeah.
All right, so let's fill while we're waiting for our guest to return.
Many people did customer experience before it wasn't aimed at.
Existed.
Right. Well, I mean,
And
customer experience has
did
existed.
exist.
Yeah, it's existed as long as there have been customers.
Same as everybody did customer relationship management before Tom Siebel coined the term.
The interesting aspect, for instance, as Harald Henn suggested, that probably your virtual background, even if it's looking sexy, might challenge your machine a bit.
Yeah. So if your normal environment isn't that bad, you might want to turn off the Zoom bookcase behind you. I used to have problems with that all the time.
No mention of competitors' products here.
Oops.
Oops.
Hopefully it's now over with the technical problems. I have a new MacBook with a new processor, so I should not have any problems
No.
with bandwidth or with performance issues.
Oh, come on. You've been in the tech industry long enough to know that's not true.
Well,
yeah, maybe I have not. I should not have switched to Apple computer. Maybe I should stick with the Dell computer. No, but
Michael certainly is not happy now. Steve probably is, as is Tim. And from a capability point of view, I'm running a 2019 MacBook, and well, an M1 MacBook should be capable enough. I would be surprised if you heard the fan right now.
Yeah, we were just going on to the success you created for the German Dell organization in founding it, ramping it up, creating the marketing. And I wanted to add that later Hagen Dommershausen joined Dell and is still in the larger organization. He came from Wyse, from the NC computers. That was quite interesting to see that as time goes by and bandwidth and server capabilities are rising, a simple browser-based small machine is doing a lot of good stuff, and you can create a lot of benefit to users which are simply utilizing it as intelligent terminal. So network computing, which was one of the topics also from the famous and not always easy to handle Larry Ellison in his younger days, is an interesting observation as well. And Dell did a lot of improvements, not only in buying Wyse, but in driving that area as well. I wanted to come back to one of my learnings from Marshall. You wrote an article about Aunt Emma and customer relationship management and how it's practiced, and that we can still learn a lot on hyper-personalization from the mom and pop shop, how it's called in the US. And I'm a big fan of Aunt Emma .40. As with some friends, I wrote a book on this, and I still believe that not only from the star chief as a cook, from the mom and pop shop, but also from the woodworkers, to get the last 3 block topics from you into the talk and the discussion, are some thrilling topics in the area that over all these over 20 or nearly 30 years, you have done work with customers and for customers. They are establishing some tendencies and people's opinion on strategy. And aside of strategy and tactics, it's very interesting, which is the topic of our convo this evening or this morning, is what is CX strategy and what not? So I'm very excited to hear your first statement on that one.
Yeah, it's a small little topic. I'm sure we can narrow in on that. I get the feeling Harold is not hearing us.
Yeah. I get the same feeling. So somehow Harald used the chat. Bloody German internet, I'd say. I suffered from it 2 weeks ago. From the high-end connection that my parents have, with an upload speed that is, there he's gone, that is beyond abysmal, but still apparently state-of-the-art in this third world country. No, it's an insult to third world countries, actually.
Yeah. And you are right. And this is one of the topics what we had.
How Harald!
It's exhausted from all of the heat.
Now you're here twice.
Nope. It popped back out. We've got the one.
Yeah. Do you hear us?
So my double disappeared.
So you are
did not disappear.
Yeah,
you
but
are in
the
the
doppelganger has disappeared. It's just
now
you.
he's gone.
Unless this is the double.
Yeah, I'm the clone, right?
Now you are the clone. Yeah.
This is how you manage so many
Harald the
customers
second.
to make them happy. This is very smart, Harald. Very smart. Now we know how you manage.
Yeah, everybody should have a clone. Everybody should have a clone. Everybody should have a clone, right?
Nowadays it's
I
called
have checked in the
digital twin,
meantime.
right?
It's not digital twin. It's not on my side. My internet is stable. I'm testing some other sites in parallel, so they are all very speedy and very performant. I have no idea. No idea. So, what was the question? What was the question, Ralph? I got the intro, but I did not get the question.
The short version this time, not the 5-minute take.
Oh, customer experience strategy.
I know that's hard.
What is it? First take.
Customer, that is an interesting one, because strategy in general is an interesting one. Most companies, if you ask the CEO and the CIO and the CFO separately from each other, you get 5 versions of the strategy usually. So, and the thing is with CX, that's the same thing, which usually should be tied to the company strategy. But there are only very few companies that have a very condensed, very clear and concise CX strategy. One of my examples, I'm taking one from the German market, which is Aldi, one of the largest discounters in Germany. And I'm taking the Aldi strategy about 10 years ago. That was very, very clear. We don't want to annoy the customers. We don't want to make him angry. And the least thing we want to happen is to steal his time. So if you look what that means, convenience in purchasing is not about the price, by the way. Everybody thinks that Aldi was competing on price because they are a discounter. No, they did not. They were competing on customer experience. And in the customer experience area, they were competing on speed. Don't steal customers' time, which means if you are entering an Aldi shop and you were looking for some coffee, you would always find a coffee right after the entrance, either on the left or the right-hand side, depending on which of the layouts Aldi was using. They had different layouts for different areas, but coffee was always on the left or on the right-hand side. Zahncreme, toothpaste was always at the end, and if you were going out and going for the checkout, you could find glasses of mice, of corn, or whatever you were looking for. So if you had your list of things you are going to buy, you don't need to go back and forth between the aisles. You could just by knowing where each thing was, save an awful lot of time. The other thing was, and they really made it throughout any process, any product, that was the way they handled their product identification. So you put your products usually on a rubber band, and which is then being transported to the person who typed the product in to see what price it was. So they were the last company in Germany introducing scanner technology, because the scanner they saw was too lousy in their opinion. It was not fast enough. A scanner in Aldi's eyes had to be the fastest on the market, and the barcode was always around the product. They had a barcode on the top, at the bottom of the product, and around the product, which was awfully looking, but was very efficient. You could take the product in any way, in any angle over the scanner, and it would always identify the product with the first scan go. All the other supermarkets had problems because sometimes it needed 3 or 4 times to identify the product. 3 or 4 times means 10 seconds per product, which a customer loses, and that doesn't make sense. And the last thing is, their employees they had trainings in which they were trained not to be unfriendly, but not to talk too much. So they were not talking about your family and your son and your new car and things like that. So they would not chase you out of the Aldi supermarket, but they would be very fast and efficient. So people going to Aldi were the ones that knew in 15 minutes time, you get all the things you need for the weekend and for the whole week after that. And you will not miss a single thing because you know where each thing is. For more than 10 years, the coffee was always on the left-hand side right after the entry. You could go blindfolded to an Aldi Markt and always find a thing. That is customer experience par excellence. Because each product, the barcode, the cash system, the payment, they had the fastest payment system. So you could stop the time where you put in your EC card, not in like in America, not your credit card, but the EC card, to identify and book it directly from your account. That was the fastest systems on the market. If, let's say, an Aldi system took, let's say, 10 seconds to register and book it from your account, all other supermarkets would at least take 20 seconds or even more than that. So each single step, each product, training for the employees, they all followed the same rule. don't steal the customer's time. And that is what I think, that is a very good example of CX strategy. What is my overall strategy? Once I have that, then I have to follow all the rules and make it the best in its class, like the fastest cash out system, the fastest checkout, the fastest product identification, the fastest way of shopping coffee, whatever you need, and bread and butter and so. And don't chase the customer around the supermarket because you decided that the butter from now on is not in the middle aisle, but it's on the left-hand aisle, because you think the more time a customer spends in the supermarket, the more he will buy. That's the strategy of some other supermarkets. Aldi always had a strategy, no, we are saving customers time. And this to me is the perfect example of CX. But apart from Aldi, at least the Aldi about 10 years ago, there are not that many companies today that are so consequent in following a CX strategy. They do a little bit over here, a little bit over there, and which means you are average. A little bit above average, maybe, but you are average. And average means, why the hell should I go to your company and buy from your company? Because it's average.
Okay, now a bunch of, let me challenge you a little there. Yank your chain, because that's my favorite role. Yeah? So, I mean, I know Aldi since before I can think. So growing up in Aldi country. Yeah? So my customer experience is, taking your 15 minutes example, 14 minutes and 52 seconds I'm spending in the queue. Means I'm not fast. The second is, why do they then advertise on price all the time, not on experience and efficiency? I'd rather think that they are looking internally into their efficiencies by not changing the stuff, because their suppliers know where to put the stuff all the time.
First of all, as I said, that was the Aldi strategy about 10 years ago. Since then, they have switched.
Yeah,
They
even
used to have 130 products of daily life at the most competitive prices. That was the Aldi strategy on convenience and
Yeah.
speed. Today, Aldi is competing on whatever, lifestyle. I have no idea what their current strategy is. It's certainly not speed and time, because they are changing constantly where the products are. It's no longer the CX strategy that I was just talking about. You need more time for the checkout processes, right? And they have left this strategy. Now they have another strategy. I'm talking about Aldi about 10 years ago,
Yeah,
when
same.
they had Dieter Brandes as the managing director. And there you still, you had little problem over here, little problem over there, but they were always competing on convenience, never on price. Never.
Well, it's the same. Let's go back. So I'm out of Germany since 2006 mainly. Yeah? So I'm talking about
Yeah, but you keep going back.
20 years ago. Yeah. So I can't remember a single instance at Aldi where I didn't curse in the queue at the checkout. And
where the hell have
I
you
went
been
there.
about?
My parents went there, and I went there because they are cheap. They fill your basket.
Yes, they were
and
competitive.
the checkout price was basically the cheapest. This was also already at that time their advertisement, which was basically copied by Markt then.
Yeah,
Geiz ist geil.
the thing is, you cannot advertise convenience at that time, or you could not advertise on we save you time. So the advertising was not reflecting the internal strategy. The internal strategy, we save our customers time. And they interviewed in a lot of market research why somebody went to Aldi. It was not the price. Everybody was astonished. Everybody was assuming that the customers would answer, we went to Aldi because of the price. The underlying motivation to go to Aldi was, yes, the price is competitive, but the price is as competitive as it is from Netto, as it is from Lidl or from any other discounter. the underlying motivation for customers was we always find the things at the same place, they don't change, and it's extremely fast. I don't know how
Okay.
after the checkout, I don't know how this is called in the English language, but when they place the product over the scanner, then there is this place where the cashier can store the product. In Aldi, it's that small. In Edeka, it's, larger than your screen where you are right now sitting in front of, because you had an awful lot of time as a customer to put the products after the person had checked it with the scanner into your big
Card. Shopping
yeah,
cart.
cup.
Mhm.
In Aldi, it was always that. So if you don't hurry up, the products would fall down on the floor. So the person at the cashing machine would help you to put it in the car to be faster. Little smart tricks, but if you were talking to the Aldi managers, they would confirm, yes, this was the underlying structure. Don't steal a customer's time. And this to me is a perfect example of CX strategy. You have to look at every product, at every single customer journey, at every touch point, at every product, at every employee to say, we need then, if we decide on convenience and time saving, then we need to be at every single point the best in our class, or we should at least strive for being the best. That is one example. And the CX strategy could be just the opposite. We want to spend as much time because the customer is coming to us looking for empathic, well-being, good informed. So Zappos in the United States selling shoes is known, at least to my knowledge, for spending as much time as the customer wants. Don't chase a customer in the call center, and don't look at your watch, and don't try to shorten the sales call, because if it takes half an hour, it takes half an hour. If it takes 2 hours to find the right shows, it will take you 2 hours, and you're still making an awful lot of money, as I understand. So Zappos CX strategy is we take as much time to make the customer feel comfortable. So, but he follows the same rules as Aldi. Train each employee to follow the rules and make everything that every single call in this day, in the next day, and the next day always follows the same rules. Take as much time as the customer needs. Be empathic. Try to help and support him, and so forth.
Yeah.
That's
So
the important.
CX, yeah.
I think
If you make this consistent, then it works. That to me is CX strategy. One is Zappos, one is Aldi. Both have totally contradictory strategies.
How about Ryanair then?
Yeah.
How about
Sorry?
Ryanair then? Sorry, Marshall, I
Yeah,
keep
it's
you
okay.
silent.
I mean, they're not really contradictory.
Yeah.
They are at the base the same thing. Serve the customer the way the customer wants to be served. And the grocery example. I enjoy grocery shopping because I am a very, very strange person. If you tried to give me a fast grocery shopping experience where I come in, get everything, and get out, I'm not going to enjoy it. I want to take my time. I want to look at products. I evaluate each piece of fruit or each piece of meat. That's
So
for me. That's me.
You're a
taking
Whole
the
Foods
time.
guy, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I would be, but actually I shop. There's a story there. It doesn't really. But that's me taking my time. For other things, sometimes the best customer experience is a very small customer experience, like you're saying with Aldi or with Radio Shack. If you were just going in, do we remember Radio Shack?
Yeah, Tandy in
Where you're
Germany.
just going in for a component or some batteries. You go in, you get it, you get out. Another one, and who would ever think to mention air travel in terms of good customer experience. But my point is, think of the best trips you've taken by air.
Yeah.
I will bet you that all of them have one thing in common. You had as little interaction with the airline as possible. It was quick, it was quiet, there were no hiccups, and it was done.
I had only the interactions with the persons on board in the engagement communication, which I enjoyed very much when I got upgraded, or I could still catch the plane even I was quite late, and they hold up the plane for me to be the last passenger coming aboard, sweating all over, and I got a free drink after. Calm down, you have made it. Here's a drink. Yeah.
This is them going out of their way when things don't go right. But customer experience should be based on things most of the time going right. And if they go right in air travel, you don't notice them. And sometimes that's the best you can do. It's just from beginning to end.
The thing is, that is one thing that companies start to learn. It's not the single touch point that is important, it's the end-to-end customer journey which is important. So, and since today, let's say you are buying a new car or you are shopping whatever, new coffee machine, you have more than one touch point in general. It used to be 1 or 3 touch points in the past. Now today it's 6, 7, 8, 9 touch points. You are going to Google, you're looking in the internet, you are comparing things on the blog, you're looking for an influencer, you go down on the company website, you're giving them a call. So, I mean, it takes 10 minutes and you have 6 or 7 touch points. The thing is, it should be consistent. Let's say you're on the website, you are filling out a form, you're downloading some brochures, you're giving them their name, and then you go to a shop because you think I'm going to the city anyhow. So I see they have a shop. Why can't I spend a few minutes there? Maybe I get a fresh cup of coffee and then I will continue the conversation. Now, if the shop is not connected to the internet and if they don't share information, they say, Harold, we don't know you. You may have been on our website for half an hour, but we have no information about what have you searched, what have you done on the website. So we need to restart from zero, which means what is your first name, what is your last name, how big is your roof, and is the sun shining from west or east?
Yeah.
If you're looking for a photovoltaic roof, they said, what the fuck is this? I gave you all the information about 2 hours ago before I sat in my car and drove in the city, and you don't know from each other. You are the same company, so I start from all over again. This is not CX. It's really end-to-end journey. Make it as easy, as consistent as possible. That is CX. I mean, to take Aldi again, Aldi is just the shop. Today it's also online ordering, but in former days it was the shop only, which makes it a little bit easier. Today it's consistency across all touch points, and please know me when I'm entering your shop. I said, you are Harold. I just see you have been on our website. You gave me already some information. So what can I help you with? Because the information that you gave us 2 hours ago, I have on my screen. That is then the customer journey approach, which a lot of companies.
The story of empathic CRM, Sven Bruck, who died 2 weeks ago, was telling to everybody and telling that it's so important that if you are on the shop floor, that you are knowledgeable and that you are aware of where your customer has informed himself, and that you can collect him, such as going in the 80s into a large American hotel chain like Marriott, and they welcomed you by name and by your favorites and what you like to see, and they made it convenient for you, and they had the bar filled up with, if you are in the consisting price range, with your favorite drinks. So Where
Yeah,
are
today
today
it,
the cool examples, aside of the changes in the last 20 years in Aldi?
the cool
Where you,
examples, there are not that many because a
yeah.
lot of companies are struggling with the off and online connections. One good example is the car manufacturer Smart. Smart is a daughter company of Mercedes, and the new models are also now a part of a Chinese manufacturer. And what they did, bringing those loose ends together. Usually, when you're shopping for a new car, you go on the internet, you're looking and compare some models, you go to the manufacturer site, you download some brochures, and then your lead has been handed over to the dealership. So that's the first big break, because the dealership um, has another CRM system than the car manufacturer, and he wants to have his own data and so forth and so forth. And the next break is between marketing and service. You buy the new car from the dealer, and the first time you come for a service, the service doesn't know you. They know the identification number of your car, but not your name.
Yeah.
And what Smart right now does is that we want to have an end-to-end journey from the car manufacturer, which is us, and the dealership, and we want to have it from marketing, sales to the end, which is customer service. The thing is, that is not easy. You need a customer data platform. You need an awful lot of connections between those systems, because the car manufacturer has a different CRM and a different service system than the dealership. The dealer might have separate or different systems in their own entity, and so forth and so forth. So it is not that easy to get this Tante Emma feeling, Aunt Emma feeling back into a modern company, because they are fiddling and struggling with 10 or 20 different systems, which all of them store customer data. The marketing stores customer data, the sales stores will store customer data, and the service will store customer data, and they don't fit together. So the service does not know that apart from the Smart, which I bought, I'm also the CEO of a large forwarding agent, and I'm using 10 trucks from Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
The only thing that they see is, oh, Harald is coming for the first time for the inspection with his new Smart. But is he an important customer? We don't know. It's one Smart, one person, and since they don't talk to the CRM system of sales, they did not recognize me as VIP person, and they should not make me angry, because the next time I might buy the Volvo trucks instead of the Mercedes trucks. And that is difficult. It is not that easy. The more touch points you have, the more systems you have, and the more you want to act in real time, which is also different from about 10 years ago, the more challenging this is, putting all those customer data platforms, marketing automation, customer service, and chatbots together. Well, it's a real challenge. This is the answer to why don't we have more examples? Because it's not that easy, and it does not come overnight. You might have the best strategy, but your IT department will say, Harold, before the strategy goes live, we will take another 2 to 3 years to make your dreams come true and connect all the bits and pieces that we have in our IT to make an end-to-end journey with real-time data. So it takes a few years before the CX really comes to life. That's why we don't have that many examples right now, and that's only the part of the IT which makes it that challenging.
So we
Not
better
that
train
easy.
people to still keep by being normal and using their brains to be empathic and use their common sense, their gesunden Menschenverstand to show the empathy, such as, I'm sorry that I didn't know you as good as I could have known you, but what is the reason that you are just standing in front of that shopping floor or that shelf and I would like to give you the best recommendation on the products you are looking for, and we can discuss it, what fits your needs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one part, and apart from the IT, there's another thing which makes it challenging. That is we are structured in departments. We have a marketing department, a sales department, a customer service department. Now, I was marketing manager for Dell. My bonus was based on achievement of a few things like cost per lead, leads, whatever. The sales department, the sales manager had different goals to achieve. And sometimes it happened that the two of us had goals which did not fit, at least not for the customer. They would fit for Bernd, which was my sales colleague, they would fit for me. Each of us was trying to do the best for the customer, but our bonus systems were totally in a different way. It was not an end-to-end customer journey. This is why Otto Versand in Germany, the largest European e-commerce company, just announced that marketing and sales are put together. There is no marketing anymore and no sales anymore. It's just one department, because you cannot have customer experience, end-to-end customer journeys, and have marketing, sales, service. That will not work.
You
And
recall
this
the
is why we
name
don't
they
have
gave
that
it?
many examples. Sorry?
So you recall the name? They
What?
gave it also a name, a new name, so that everybody is understanding that they have no more.
I think they call it, I think they call it customer management or something
Yeah,
like that. So the
yeah,
word customer for the first time appears
yeah.
in, rather than we have a marketing on the sales department, now we have customer management, which is wonderful, because now the customer is also in the title of a company department. But that makes it so difficult, because the way we built up companies in the last 20, 30 years were based on functionalities. They were never based on a customer-centric organization. Now, CX is just the opposite. I'm not interested in your organizational structure, dear company. I'm interested in achieving my job to be done. So this is why right now we don't have that many good examples, because companies now are facing the challenge of, oops, we have a marketing, we have a sales, we have a customer service, but we have no one looking at an end-to-end customer journey and takes responsibility for the customer journey, which would basically be the new role that you need in a company, a
How
customer
is
journey
this
executive.
radar helping organizations to realize where the real needs are? Then this is one of the overwhelming and very attractive and interesting initiatives, which is one outcome of all the 30 years of experience in going forward, and giving a larger audience an opportunity to see where they are right now and where they could move and where their audience is already.
The radar, which is basically a maturity model that basically shows CEO, okay, which are the topics that needs to be addressed, so that I'm not totally lost in my market. But that does not help him to do the work in his company, which is mainly forming a strategy, reorganizing the company, and making some unpopular decisions, like Otto Versand did with, I mean, it was a very short notice in Horizont, which is the marketing and advertising newspaper. Otto is putting marketing and sales in a new department. End of the story. And two smiling faces on the story. I mean, I would assume that behind the scenes, there were a lot of discussions going on between marketing and Vertrieb. What am I giving up? What do I give in return? I'm afraid of losing my bonus. I'm afraid of losing my job. I'm afraid of this new customer management, because what is my new role? What am I losing? What am I gaining? So it's not
Yeah.
that easy as it looks like from a small article in Horizont newspaper, that marketing and sales are now Kundenmanagement. that's a very large transformational job that needs to be done in most of the companies, and that takes time. The trend radar or the maturity model can only help to point out where the important topics are, where you should look at, but the transformational work that needs to be done and the IT restructuring and so forth, the trend radar will not do the job for them. So that is something that the companies have to do themselves then.
It's still time to drill thick boards, as you wrote lately. Wir müssen dicke Berge abbauen.
I've just learned that in English there is no expression for drilling a thick board. That doesn't make any sense to the US and English-speaking people. So there is a tedious task ahead. That's what I learned from translating, right? So a few of the expressions don't make sense if you translate them word by word. It's really a big, major task for most of the companies, which is time-consuming. I mean, organizational changes have to do with culture. Who is gaining, who is losing, and that takes time. It's a change management process, and we all know from a lot of change processes, they are painful. They are not that easy. You need to moderate. You need to motivate. You will go 2 steps forward, and then all of a sudden 1 step backwards again, and so forth and so forth. And that is right now happening with CX. The companies have identified CX is important to them. Otherwise, they are losing market share, or they are not making as much profit as they could. But that's a big task to do. CX is really a big challenge that has to do with reorganizing the companies, reorganizing the IT around the customer. So it's that's why it will take some time, and the biggest challenges are ahead of us. The first steps were easy. You draw a customer journey map, but you still have marketing department, sales department, customer service. They all sit together. They make a lovely, colorful chart, go to the CEO and said, now look, this is our customer journey. Oh, wonderful. This is what is CX about. Yes, boss, this is what CX about. We have now a customer journey, and the big task is when you ask marketing to do something different because it's not in the interest of the customer, then they will say, stop, this is my territory. And the sales manager will say the same. You're not touching my competencies and my territory. And the customer journey manager would say, of course I do, because we are now acting in the interest of the customer. So the 2 guys will lose something, and they're not happy about that unless they gain something. And this has to be negotiated, and this will take time. So that's what makes CX in the next coming years big major task to do. And if you look at the big companies that are successful, like Amazon, like Hook24, to name a German one, they started about 10 years ago with their journey to CX and customer centricity. It's not overnight and a snap and they had CX. No, it took them.
So we need some magicians and some fairy godmothers to make it happen. Not to get drowning by the iceberg model, which you used to visualize in an internationally understandable way, as it is designed with English wordings in describing the parts of the iceberg which are under the water and which are visible, and what are the challenges in the hyper-personalization and the CX story.
Can you cut off the hyper, please? It's called one-to-one marketing since 1970s or 80s.
Yeah, the thing is that sometimes somebody invents a word and Google grabs it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Google is sometimes dominating some words and some terms. It's like with omnichannel. Omnichannel is dead wrong. Dead wrong. The thing is that each vendor in the contact center market proclaimed omnichannel, you need omnichannel. So omnichannel was prominent on the Google on the first 10 pages, and you could not avoid the word. Now, we have, at least for the Trendressort, replaced omnichannel by multi-experience because it's not a channel. The thing is, omnichannel is still very vivid in Google on the first 8 pages or so. The thing is that the same as with hyper-personalization. I hate sometimes the analysts that create new words without thinking what they are doing, because the word is then being spread, the word has been put on Google, and somebody grabs it and somebody distributes it even more, like a virus, like the COVID virus. And then after 1 year, the first 3 or 4 pages are all omnichannel or hyper-personalization. I agree. Sometimes I hate those people that coin new words without thinking what they are doing.
And there I thought it was marketers.
Yeah, a lot of the colleagues that say they are marketers are not real marketers.
One could kindly say they are wrapping specialists, such as they put a new paper, wrapping paper around something old. Not even the old wine in new faces or in new Schläuche. Yeah,
I totally agree, Thomas. Personalization would do, one-to-one marketing would do. We have some good expressions there, but right now somebody decided he needs a new term, and that was hyper-personal.
Let's go ultra.
The same happened with omnichannel, which is hopefully disappearing one day. But it was a totally misleading expression that we had in the market.
Actually, what we are looking for is channel-less, right?
Channel is
no channel-less, no channel.
No channel, not instead of endless. We say no channels.
It's about multi-experience at each touch point, which is way better. I mean, gladfully, Gartner had this new word, a new term, multi-experience, which is way better than channel.
Why multi-experience?
Jetzt ist wieder futsch. Da ist wieder.
No, he wasn't away. He was there all the time for me.
But the thing is that Gartner also invented, I think, omnichannel. So at least they now have a better automation.
So why would you say multi-experience is better, or in general? Because why the multi at all?
Because it multi-reflects that you have different touch points and that you have experience across different touch points, which then better expresses that you have experience with a chatbot at an online store, at an offline store, at a retail store, and so it's multi because it has different touch points with different media, so that better reflects the word than just experience. Yeah, you can still argue with whether you need the word multi, but experience is way better than channel.
Yeah, fully agreed, because it's about the outcome and not on the means.
Exactly.
So there we are fully agreeing. So in general, I was just asking for, well, where the term came from, and what the rationale behind it is. So just some other idea than mine. So, but turning back a little, you talked, both you and Ralph talked a bit about empathy, and I was wondering why Ralph didn't pounce early on in the conversation when you said something quite verbatim, empathy isn't that important. In explaining that you do not need to work that much with the customer and, well, just leave him or her alone. So, and well, Ralph is usually the guy who says empathy overall, kind of, in quotes.
I didn't say no. I didn't say no empathy. Empathy is
not that important. That's what I said. What I took out of it.
No, it is. It's the natural glue between two human beings. That's empathy. The way I can understand what your feeling is, where you're coming from, the context, and so forth. So if you're not empathic, if you cannot see behind what is motivating you to do something, what are you afraid of, what are your concerns, I will do a lousy job in consulting, a lousy job in sales, and a lousy job in service. So empathy to me is the natural base that is needed all the time. And the thing is, we should not empathize.
Empathize, yeah.
Make so much noise about empathy, because it's self-understanding that you need it. So if everybody says empathy is said, that's the normal thing between two human beings. If you're not, if you cannot show empathy, this is a cultural thing right now that a lot of doctors say the next generation is unable to show empathy, then it will be difficult for them to live together and to make business and so forth. So empathy to me is, yes, it belongs to human beings, and we should not make such noise about it.
And my unfair advantage is I know Harald for over 20 years.
There's a tacit understanding. This is what I just gathered.
Alles klar, alles klar.
So,
My advantage or my unfair advantage is I didn't jump on it because I knew the story behind it.
okay. I was just internally, I was waiting. I was like, yes.
The only thing which I have difficulties with is digital empathy. There are a few vendors claiming that they have an AI-based model that can show empathy, and I said, oh no, guys. Empathy is something that is really restricted for human beings only. The way to show behind your feelings. They can do sentiment analysis, but empathy is such a complex structure which is going on in your brain. I would not confirm that an AI-based system is empathic. I would have my concerns about that.
Okay.
I think the best we can hope for there is for it to fake empathy reasonably well. And as soon as it starts getting to the edge of what's possible, to go, help, give me a live agent. That's the best you're going to get out of AI, I think.
If we came to the same results in 25 to 30 years, I take for granted that what Ranga Yogeshwar 2 years ago in a TV show very late before midnight, because they didn't want to show it in a too popular place, was honestly positively criticizing in the state of AI we are in just now, and what the capabilities are, and that autonomous driving cars, for instance, due to the mass of data,
That's
is
not the point.
still a great risk.
This is not the point, Ralph. The point is, if it appears like empathy, it doesn't matter.
For me, the point is that I observe the restrictions those people, female and male, which worked for Google, are in the discussion right now, or either lost their job, if that they said the AI is getting a certain amount of feelings or an own conscious, to a certain degree, and that would be a basis to, if one has feelings, to go into the direction of empathy.
I disagree, utterly disagree. If there's something in front of you, it's the Turing test, basically. If there's something in front of you that appears human or that appears empathic, how are you to decide that it's not and it's fulfilling the job? You can't even you don't even know whether it's a machine or not behind the scene. So if I would utterly disagree to the statement that a machine cannot exhibit something that is empathy, whether it has conscience or not, consciousness or not.
The machine the machine might identify that you are angry. The machine may identify that you are happy, but empathy is way more to me. It's a complex pattern of feelings, of your historic and so forth. And if I have 20 years of experience with a human being, there's something which he does not express, and I still can feel or interpret right now as he feels. And that is something that the machine cannot, because the machine is missing real life experience, being disappointed, getting divorced, losing a child in a traffic accident, a lot of things that the machine can grab from your face. You are disappointed, but
So it
that's
doesn't have
one,
consciousness, yeah?
yeah, but it's 1% of what is going behind. Empathy to me is a whole complex universe of feelings, of history, and so forth. So I think empathy on a surface level the machine can do,
Hmm?
but that's it.
Oh, isn't that enough? It's about the outcome.
We can argue with that. It's enough
He
to
loves to
fulfill
do.
it. It's enough to fulfill an order process, but it's not. I mean, it's not enough between human beings, because human beings need a little bit more than just this. Fulfill my order. Fulfill my order is something I do with Amazon all the time. I don't even need an empathic chatbot to do it. As long as it works smoothly without a chatbot, I'm happy. But when it comes to a real severe issue, like a big finance for my new house, which is going to be difficult for some reasons, and whatever,
Yeah, I
I don't
don't say
like.
that there are no limits to what a machine can do. But let's take the Aldi example again. So the Aldi example is my words again, my interpretation again. Yeah, value my time and else leave me alone.
Yeah.
Which is empathy, which is what Amazon does as well.
Okay, then we have a different understanding of
Yeah,
empathy.
we have, of course, and
Okay.
that's the good thing about
Okay, that is
it.
But
this to me is not empathy. Value my time is their strategy, and I understand their strategy. That's why I'm going to Aldi. So they're saving my time, and that's the deal. Aldi and I do before I enter the shop. They save my time, and I gave them my money for some products I buy.
now
Empathy
they
is something
created
else.
deal breakers, such
Yeah,
Then we
as
have
saving your time.
different understanding, interpretation. That at least makes it clear why we have the discussion going on. It does the job, that's fine, but I don't need empathy at Aldi. I just need fulfilling my process in the quickest time possible.
Well, on the other hand, you said they did their research and are acting accordingly, so creating a strategy. And for me, behind the strategy, I would say there is a notion of empathy.
Okay, we can argue about
that. That's probably another conversation.
That's
Let's
another conversation.
directly plan it.
Once again, we're going to just have to invite you back.
Yep.
That's going to be in a philosophical way discussion whether this is empathy or not. To me, it's not. They have a clear CX strategy. It's a deal. I give them my money. They give me time savings. That's the deal. And by the way, I get some products which I need, which is coffee, bread, butter, and something like that. So that's the deal. Money in return for time savings. Nothing to do with empathy. Same with Amazon. Empathy to me is something different. But I agree. We can argue about that, and we can say, okay, is it a portion of empathy or not? That's something which we can discuss for a long time. Yeah.
So let's do that later.
Yes, please. This has been very interesting. I want more.
Yeah,
what
actually,
I love to see is, as we are over the hour already, a bit in the area of the evaluation and your perspective on how AX is paying into a good CX using the service profit chain approach, because in several of the statements you gave to timeline postings from Peter Birner and from Kai Stubane, I found out that in the discussion with Graham Hill, especially, you took the point, guys, this is long evaluated, old coffee, and why are you still running around? And my answer was, I miss the proof of data in large amounts. From a gut feeling, I'm with you. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah.
Yeah, service profit chain is since 1984 or 86 and has been evaluated a few times. I don't know how often. Enough studies on that, empirical, proven that a happy customer and a motivated and a well-informed customer generates a happy customer. So, sometimes I'm really astonished that we open a discussion on something which has long been proven and undermined by a lot of studies that this is a working model. So sometimes I have the feeling that we do not listen enough to some knowledge that has been around for 20 or 30 years, and kind of we don't listen enough to our scientists and to our good professors. That's why invent new words like multi-experience and omnichannel. And sometimes we reinvent the wheel. Sometimes we don't listen to our scientists. I mean, Reichheld, Sasa, Hesketh, it's proven knowledge. So it's a Kahneman peak end rule of a customer journey, known since 2002, 2003, I don't know. And now somebody comes up with, it's very important that at the end of the customer journey, you make the customer happy. And then somebody raises his hand and said, yes, Daniel Kahneman told us this 20 years ago. It's called peak end rule. It's been proven by psychologists. So you don't need to reinvent and claim that this is something brand new. It's not. It has been proven, it has been researched, and it has been shown that this is true. So sometimes the marketeers and all these CX persons should go back to their room where all the old books are from the university and say, is there something which we can still use? Yeah, and there's a lot of that we can still use.
That sounds like a perfect, famous last word. I, for myself, learned a lot today, especially about Aldi. Thanks, Harald, from my end.
We learned that we need to learn more.
Yep.
Please be open to coming back sometime, Harold.
It was very enjoyable, and I like to be challenged. So it was very interesting discussion with Thomas on empathy and so forth. And sometimes you can talk for 1 hour, and after 1 hour, you all of a sudden notice that you have a different interpretation and definition of something, which is what makes human beings so interesting. And then by listening and by asking and questioning, you find out, oh, he has a different perspective on something. And that is why you are talking this way rather than understanding. So I enjoyed it a lot. I wish you a nice evening and looking forward to the next time then.
So
we're very grateful that you were so agile, available, and you made my day, not this evening, but also in helping me getting out of a tricky situation, Harold. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, let's go backstage.